Instead, I made some fun.
Watch it glimmer, see it shimmer.
Now there's a whole new way to do fondue.
When you choose a slow cooker, be sure you get the real thing.
Kitchens in the 1970s were a wonderland full of the most exotic materials, tools, and items that would aid food preparation. But many of the kitchen items we grew up with in the 70s have either evolved in their structure or are no longer on the market. Let's take a trip down memory lane to exhume kitchen items from the 1970s that are now obsolete. The fondue pot was the holy grail of the 1970s kitchen and was usually saved for special occasions like dinner parties, social gatherings, and small get-togethers. Fondue was a communal dish of melted cheese and chocolate in a hot steaming pot. The meal became a cultural trend and brought people together. The fondue pot became popular in kitchens and was usually made of materials like enamel-coated cast iron, ceramic, or even stainless steel with bright colors and patterns. Some plain, while some were funky and retro style. The pots came in various designs, including a simple burner underneath with small stands that elevated the pot. It was designed to keep the fondue warm. This was before the electric versions, but sadly the old-fashioned fondue pot has long faded into obscurity as cooking technology and kitchen items continue to evolve. In the kitchens of the 1970s, it was quite easy to notice a slew of harvest gold appliances. This bold, warm color had a golden yellow shade and was largely seen in kitchen appliances like ovens, refrigerators, toasters, dishwashers, and more. They often came in a glossy or matte finish and radiated an earthy feel, which aligned with the trend of the 70s when everything was all about earthy colors. The natural look was both aesthetically appealing and looked sophisticated. With the advancement in technology and changing in trends, the harvest gold frenzy began to phase out. Interestingly, the harvest gold appliances of that era were quite durable, and some of them exist in some homes today. It also makes for a great option for those who are trying to recreate the nostalgic 70s look in their own home.
Meats keep meatier, beats keep beatier, chips keep chippier, dips keep dippier, Tupperware freshness, that's our promise.
Certain color shade kitchen items dominated the 1970s, and one of those was the natural and earthy avocado green Tupperware. Every home owned one of these. From mixing bowls to dishes, avocado green was just one of those colors generally preferred for Tupperware. The 70s were big on food storage, and every home had stacks of these containers with lids to help keep the food fresh. Tupperware was durable, portable, and widely available, owing to its affordability. And while they may still be a part of the modern kitchen, they're not even a fraction of how popular they used to be in the 70s. These retro-themed kitchen items can still be found in thrift stores, vintage shops, or even tucked away in a pantry in your home.
So, here we go. Let's see how it goes. Have I got it switched on? Yes, I have. Plugged in, ready to go.
Like a miniature chainsaw, the electric carving knife was a popular gadget for preparing large holiday meals that required a lot of slicing and dicing. You'd often see them on special occasions, like Christmas or Thanksgiving. Unlike traditional knives that required a lot of human effort, the electric carving knife didn't need effort at all. Just switch on the power, place the blade on the turkey, and you'll have a clean and even slice in a matter of seconds. The serrated blades move back and forth at breakneck speed, and the handle allowed professional cooks to cut ham, turkey, beef, and more with minimal effort. You only had to worry about the length of the electrical cord or the blade. The electrical carving knives were cutting-edge kitchen tools of the 70s and never really phased out. There were concerns over the safety use, and over time, there have been improvements in knife technology with new designs that are more ergonomic, efficient, and safe.
Well,
there was no easier way to open a can of food in the 70s than with a manual can opener. This kitchen essential was used for opening all kinds of cans and usually hung from a rack along with other kitchen tools. The manual opener came in different designs and was usually metallic, composed of a rotating cutting wheel and a handle to grip. Although it's easy to use, it also required a bit of technique and effort. Some models came with additional tools like bottle openers. Manual can openers were sturdy and built to last for many years, and needless to say, the advancement in technology has greatly reduced the use of the manual opener. Most homes today own an electric one, with other designs being a lot easier, especially with people who have limitations like arthritis. The manual opener is widely used and remains a practical and reliable low-maintenance option, even in the modern kitchen. Many kitchens in the 70s went with an earthy theme, not only in colors but also in choice of utensils. Wooden spoon holders were planted on walls, holding up several spoons and other implements. They were both functional and also added a touch of rustic charm which improved the look and feel of the room. These wall-mounted racks featured hooks and slots which allowed you to hang anything. In the 1980s, people began to shift from earthy designs to a more sleek and modern look, which typically included metal, plastic, ceramics, and glass. The wooden spoon holders, along with other wooden designs, are never truly extinct. There's often a resurgence where these nostalgic accessories resurface as a modern version of the 1970 wooden spoon holder.
When you choose a slow cooker, be sure you get the real thing.
Crock-Pots were introduced in the 1970s as low-heat cookers and originally marketed as a way to slow-cook meals which needed to be cooked over a longer period of time. Things like beans, stew, and soups. Crocks usually had porcelain or ceramic inner heating units and had settings that range from 0 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. The slow cooker became a kitchen staple, and the concept of slow cooking allowed ingredients to properly simmer over several hours, improving the taste of a home-cooked meal. Over time, crock-pots evolved into what is now called the slow cooker, which came with a lot more settings and options than the crock-pot. Newer models have advanced features such as Keep Warm, which is essential for those who want to come home to a warm, ready-made meal. The butter churner is another nostalgic kitchen item, especially popular in homes that made their own butter. Even though butter could easily be gotten at the store, some preferred the taste of the homemade version. Churning was done with this small hand-crank tool that was stirred to turn the paddle inside the container. Perfect for making small batches of butter, it wasn't exactly popular in the typical 70s kitchen, but was certainly available in homes of traditional families which practiced homesteading. It quickly phased out as convenience stores sold affordable butter, making the process a hassle.
Electric egg scrambler.
The rotary egg beater was undoubtedly a kitchen staple for the longest of time. There was a time when this hand-crank tool was the go-to for mixing batter, beating eggs, whipping cream, and other activities. It was easy to use and consisted of a handle with a crank attached to it. Turning the crank would cause the interlocking metal beaters to spin, allowing its user to whip up eggs in a matter of moments. Today, there's a wide variety of electric mixers to get the job done with just the push of a button. But the rotary egg beater is a vintage kitchen item that will always be available in stores because of its appeal to people living off-grid and camping. The eco-friendly appeal is another reason to always keep the item handy.
Smell good ground coffee. That's Maxwell House coffee.
The Percolator coffee pot is a classic way to brew homemade coffee in the 70s, long before electronic makers came to the market. These tall metal pots were the go-to for brewing very strong cups of coffee. The grounds were usually placed inside of a basket at the top of a long hollow tube, and the water at the bottom heats up until it percolates through the grounds, creating a strong, distinctly dark brew. Percolators varied from stovetop versions, which required an external heat source, and the electric percolators with built-in heating elements. However, in the early 80s, they were replaced by the drip maker, which offered a more consistent and less concentrated brew. Changing tastes and preferences tilted towards a lighter brew, and in time, modern alternatives like the espresso machine, the French press, and others took over in the mainstream. Percolators remain available in stores for those who cherish that rich, dark taste. The 1970s were largely inspired by nature. Almost everything around the home had a touch of natural surrounding, from color tones to plants and floral patterns. Some kitchens were adorned with the aesthetic of macrame plant hangers. These bohemian-inspired aesthetics were designed as functional crafts fit for decorative purposes. Almost every home had the macrame plant hanger dangling from their wall and ceiling. The handmade art was designed using knotting techniques on hemp cords, jute, and cotton, and the hangers were made up of every complex pattern and improved with wood rings which were strategically woven into its structure. The hangers were synonymous with elegance and rustic art. The loop at the top made it easy to hang the structure from a hook. While macrame was hot in the 70s, it began to fade in the 80s and 90s as other advanced forms of interior decor emerged. DIY art like macrame is still popular today, especially as an accessory to classic themed designs in homes and offices.
Alright, here I have a spice carousel. It has 20 jars, so I'm going to take it out of the box and take a look at its features.
If you love to organize your spices in the 1970s, you probably used a spice rack carousel. These racks were circular and had lodges where plastic containers or jars of spices could be organized in whatever order that suited its user. The rack spinned on an axis, allowing easy access to the spices without having to shuffle through the cabinet in search of a particular one. Some carousels came pre-labeled to make sure you didn't mix one spice with another, while others were more like a blank check. The carousels came in plastic, wood, metal, and jars were transparent to make the color of the spice visible. It had a handle for easy carrying and wasn't only an efficient tool but also added a decorative element to the kitchen. The spice rack began to fade into history as modern homes began to incorporate pull-out drawers, built-in racks, cabinet organizers, and other more streamlined and less bulky options for arranging spices. Minimalist shelves offered a simpler storage system with less clutter than in the old days, and although the spice racks have not completely disappeared, they're no longer as common as they once were, and mostly seen in retro kitchens or stores that offer nostalgic old furniture. Metal ice cube trays have existed since the 40s and have been a pretty common household item. They became more popular in the 70s. Different designs were available, like the aluminum tray with lever mechanism and divider grid inside. You could easily remove the cubes by pulling on the lever, which would crack the frozen cubes off the metal. They were sturdy and reliable and often difficult to crack, especially when the trays were overfilled. They were replaced by plastic trays, which were lighter and easier to handle, less prone to sticking no matter how full. The plastic was more user-friendly and didn't require complex operation. Automatic ice makers of the modern era further sealed the fate of the metal ice cube tray, leaving them in the distant past where they belong. The burnt orange cookware was the hallmark of the 1970s. Its vibrant color became one of the dominant hues of its era, a period when earth colors were trendy, and most things like kitchenware, interior decorations, vehicles, and even clothing adopted an earthy color. Some of the most popular tones of this period were harvest gold, avocado green, burnt orange, and mustard yellow. The retro burnt orange cookware is no longer as universal as it once was in the 70s, but remains in stores and circulation by those that appreciate vintage collections. The iconic checkerboard tablecloth has existed since the mid-20th century, and this timeless design continues to recycle itself, appearing in different forms and designs. In the past, restaurants with checkered cloth sent a clear message to customers that the restaurant was hygienic, homely, and affordable. The checkerboard tablecloth was especially popular in culturally grounded restaurants such as Italian, Mexican, Spanish, and more, and also signaled old-fashioned American taste, which pretty much saw popularity from the 30s to the 70s. The checkerboard tablecloth came in red and white checkers or black and white, and were used in various places. Unpretentious restaurants were always picked out by the presence of the checkerboard. It wouldn't be until the 80s that people became tired of seeing the tablecloth and wanted something new, and while you can still purchase this retro tablecloth for personal use, you'll likely not find them in a modern restaurant.
Dad, I made some fun.
Watch it glimmer, see it
One of the most quirky and beloved culinary trends that began in the 50s and became popular in the 70s is the Jell-O mold. These wobbly holiday desserts and appetizers were used for a lot of edible creative outlets and always tasted fantastic. Remember those family gatherings during the holiday season? There was simply no party without the Jell-O mold. They came in all shapes and sizes like rings, stars, bunch shapes, floral patterns, and more. And if you were feeling adventurous, you could mix other elements in the gelatin like marshmallows, nuts, fruits, and whipped cream to create aesthetically pleasing desserts. Jell-O molds are rarely seen today because the wide variety of competing dessert types and pudding delicacies on the market. Frozen treats have saturated the market, unlike in the 70s when options were few and far between. They may be no longer popular, but they remain retro novelties, admired and purchased by those who long for that taste of a vintage mold.
Osterizer blender, food grinder, dough maker, even a slicer shredder for a couple or a clan.
Remember that popular blender with a glass pitcher? Well, many wouldn't know the difference today, but blenders in the mid-20th century featured heavy, sturdy glass pitchers which were tough enough to withstand any form of blending, from ice cubes to thick paste. The glass allowed users to see the blending process, and the pitcher had measurement markers on it that allowed the user to know the volume of what it contained. The base of the pitcher was usually designed with solid metal or some form of hard plastic, covering the control panels and motor. With simple settings which ranged from low to high, the advantages of the pitcher were that it didn't get stained or absorb odors from blended materials. It could withstand significantly high temperatures, and the heavy weight of the glass made it stable, which eliminated the risk of accidentally tipping over. Since it was made of dense glass, it was also prone to breaking. Newer models were made of lighter plastic, which was way cheaper than the expensive glass, and in modern times people preferred lighter and easy-to-handle designs rather than heavy glass which posed a safety risk. While the glass pitcher blender is no longer the status quo, it's still available in vintage stores. The recipe box with handwritten cards were a great way to pass down traditional family recipes to the younger generation. These boxes were filled with cards of personal notes, handwritten culinary secrets, and recipes, which represented the origins of food preparation steps and generation. For many, the recipe box represented more than just cooking techniques and recipes. They were memories and traditions that gave a deeper meaning to the art of cooking. The boxes were often made out of wood, and recipes on the cards were handwritten, bearing labels like Mom's Secret Sauce. Since cookbooks became increasingly popular, families began to rely less on old-age handwritten recipes, and today, the internet provides adequate information on any old food recipe from any part of the world. Next up is milk in the glass mixing bowls, a kitchen item that dates as far back as the 1930s and remained popular even to the 70s. The mixing bowl was an opaque glass bowl with a smooth finish or bearing embossed patterns. It came in various colors and sizes, serving as a mixer for many kitchen activities, from mixing dough to salads. Today, the bowls are more like collectibles as they've been replaced with modern ceramic mixing bowls that are far more functional and safe. Which of these kitchen items are familiar to you? Let me know all about it in the comments down below, and be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.